We know Avrohom Aveinu was promised the land of Yud Umois, 10 different countries, 10 different nations. There seems to be a stira in the Divrei Rashi himself. When and if Klal Yisrael was going to get all 10 of those nations. Rashi in the Shira, Rashi in Oz Yosher, the pasuk says Oznuv Halu Alufei Edom. It's Perek Tesvav, pasuk Tesvav. Rashi says Oznuv Halu Alufei Edom. Eile Moav Yechazem Irad. So Rashi says that Moav had nothing to be worried about it. The pasuk says that the governors of Edom were very worried. They worried that Klal Yisrael was being so successful. And Rashi says they had nothing to be worried about. Klal Yisrael is not coming after Edom, presumably because Klal Yisrael was Klal Yisrael was told by Kadosh Baruch Hu that that we're not coming for Edom, and we're not coming for Moav. So that's what Rashi says right after Kriyas Yamsuf. The Klal Yisrael was not headed for Edom, Amon, and Moav. Rashi's quoting him Mechilton, Yalkut. The problem is that there seems to be Rashi seems to hold that Klal Yisrael was at this point headed to get קיני, קנזי, וקדמני, to get Edom, Amon, and Moav. Rashi in Devarim, Perek Aleph, pasuk Zayin, the pasuk says, "Pnu usulachem ubo hara moiri vel kol shechenov." The Klal Yisrael should, right after Matan Torah, Akash Baruch was Klal Yisrael it was assumed that Klal Yisrael was going to go straight into Eretz Yisrael. So it says, "Pnu usulachem, go and travel ubo, and you should get to Hara Moiri, which is part of Eretz Yisrael. Vel kol shechenov. What's el kol shechenov? Amon, Moav, v'har seir." So the Mefarshim assume that Rashi means that Pnu usulachem ubo hara moiri vel kol shechenov means the Klal Yisrael is going to come there and they're going to, the Klal Yisrael is going to conquer those lands. The Klal Yisrael is going to take them over. So how's Amon and Moav and har seir? Klal Yisrael's Muslim, we're not allowed to take Amon and Moav and har seir. So the Goyin, it's famous from the Goyin in Adar Salio and the Sisachom over here in Devarim explain that at this point, after Matan Torah, before the Chet of the Meraglim, Klal Yisrael was still headed to get all 10 Ummos. Klal Yisrael was going to still get Amon, Moav, har seir. Right? Because during the Bris Bein HaBesorim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Avrohom Aveinu, that's in Lech Lecha, in Perek Tesvav, pasuk Yud Tes through Chaf Aleph. There's 10 lands, including the קיני, קנזי, וקדמני. And Rashi over there says that it's 10 different nations. קיני, קנזי, וקדמני is Edom, Moav, Amon. And Rashi explains that's going to come loss of love. So the Goyin and the Sisachomim say that Klal Yisrael was headed to get all 10 Ummos until the Chet of the Meraglim. Until the Chet of the Meraglim, Klal Yisrael was going to get all 10. And we only lost it during the Chet of Meraglim. So that's why in the beginning of Dvarim, it says, Pnu usulachem ubo hara moiri vel kol shechenov, because Klal Yisrael was still going to get Amon, Moav, har seir at that point because it was before the Chet of the Meraglim. That's the pshat of the Kohen and the Sitzachon. But the problem is, if Klal Yisrael was going to still get the Yud Ummos, Klal Yisrael was still going to get all 10 lands. So what's the pshat in Rashi and Beshalach? Why is Rashi bothered? And Rashi doesn't understand what Moav is worried about. Simple what they're worried about. The Kriyas Yamsuf is before the Chet of the Meraglim. At that point, Klal Yisrael was headed to get all 10 Ummos, and all 10 Ummos included Amon, Moav, and Edom. So that's what Klal Yisrael was worried about. That's what Moav was worried about. Moav was worried that Klal Yisrael was going to come and take their land. That's the steer. And it's assumed these two Rashis, that Rashi brought down different midrashim, and these two midrashim don't stem. Well, maybe we could say that no. Even if we learn this Rashi in Devarim, that Klal Yisrael, after Matan Torah, until the Chet of the Meraglim, were headed to get all 10 Umos, and they were going to get, including Amon and Moav and Har Seir, maybe that was only after Matan Torah. Even right from the start, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Avrohom Aveinu 10 Umos. That was the 7 off the bat. That was 7, the Shiva Umos that they were going to get for sure. And Amon, Moav, and Edom, they were going to get lost in love. And all the way through until Matan Torah, Klal Yisrael was not headed to get the 7 Umos. By Matan Torah, where it was Paskas U'Amosim, and Klal Yisrael was in such a high madrega, Klal Yisrael was almost like a lost in love. That's when they were zeichet to get the קיני, קנזי, וקדמני. To the point that after Matan Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Pnu usu lechem u'bo har hamori vel kol shechenav, which includes Amon and Moav and Har Seir. And then, by the Chet Meraglim, they lost that extra Amon and Moav for Har Seir. That would be miyashiv. That's why by Kriyas Yamsuf that happened before Matan Torah. Kriyas Yamsuf, Klal Yisrael had not been zeicha to the Paskas U'Amosim. Klal Yisrael had not been zeicha to a level of a lost lavoi. Klal Yisrael was only going to get the 7 Umos, and that's why Rashi's bothered. What was Moav so nervous about? Now this would be miyashiv the steer in Rashi, but it sounds very, very, very interesting. It would be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Avrohom Aveinu 10 Umos, but wasn't going to give it to them right away. Then it came to Matan Torah, and he decided to give them 10. And then he took it away by the Meraglim, and Los Love we're going to get back 10. It sounds a little bit dochuk, but I think you have to say it. Because if we look in Shemois, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Moshe Rabbeinu about the land that he's giving Klal Yisrael in Shemois, in 2 places, Perek Gimel, Pasuk Ches, and later on in Perek Gimel, Pasuk Yud Zayin, it says, "Ve'erid la'atzilah mi'ad Mitzrayim la'alosim men'ha'aretz ahil la'eretz teva ruchava el eretz zavas kol v'udvash al mekoyim haknani hachiti hamori haprizi hachivi v'hayivusi." And then again later on, it says, "Al eretz haknani hachiti hamori haprizi v'hachivi v'hayivusi al eretz zavas kol v'udvash," and all of them don't have קיני, קנזי, וקדמני. So like the goin, that Klal Yisrael at this point before the Meraglim was going to get Knizi, Kadmoni, which would include which means Amon, Moav, and Edom. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu promise that to Avram, to Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshas Shemois? So it would seem clear that you have to say like the Abshat. If you say that Klal Yisrael lost קיני, קנזי, קדמני only by the Chet Meraglim, you would have to say that they were only zeicha by Matan Torah, because otherwise, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu promise it in the beginning when they were still in Mitzrayim? From the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't mention in Mitzrayim, it's pretty clear that even if you learned that Klal Yisrael at one point was going to be zeicha in Amon, Moav, Edom, it was only after Matan Torah, and that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't mention in Mitzrayim. Later on, they were zeicha in Matan Torah, and they lost it by the Meraglim. That would also be the pshat why in Parshas Devarim, in that pasuk, it says Pnu usu lechem u'bo har hamori vel kol shechenav, and which Rashi says al kol shechenav is Amon, Moav, v'Har Seir. That's like a separate group. That's a separate category. Kol shechenav. Why is it shechenav? If it's part of the 10 Umos that Klal Yisrael is being zeichin, so then it's one of them. Why is it a separate category? it would seem that these three lands were lands that Klal Yisrael was zeicha to earlier, and then it got taken away. And that's why they were zeichet by Matan Torah, and then it got taken away. And that's why these are the ones that were taken away, because they were only zeichet b'shas Matan Torah, b'shas their higher level of Pascha Zu Amasam, or their higher level of Matan Torah. But originally, in Kriyas Yams, in Mitzrayim, Klal Yisrael was never expected to get these three lands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu never promised them to Moshe Rabbeinu. It was never broadcasted to Moav. Moav had nothing to worry about, that their land was in danger, because Klal Yisrael was not going to get קיני, קנזי, קדמני until Lasad Lavai. There was just one small time from Matan Torah until the Chetem Raglim, which this pasuk of Pnu Usulachem Ubo Haramari includes, that Klal Yisrael was going to get all 10 umos.